What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Payne. Welcome back to the channel and another Final Fantasy VII Rebirth video. Alright guys, if you have not been following the development of Rebirth, you're missing quite a bit. So today I want to do a little bit of catch up because I'll be real with you guys. The developers, Square Enix, the whole team and the cast are making this game out to be something that is unexpected in a very good way. So when Remake came out, a lot of people were on the fence about storylines, about premise, about the changes that were made to the original. It looks like Rebirth is looking to either expand on that, but also stick a little more to the original, but also open up the world like it's never been opened up before. Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to go over the Twitter a little bit. I also want to go over some of the interviews that have happened with the director and some of the things that he's answered, and I think they're very important questions that have been answered, and I think a lot of you guys will be impressed with what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is looking to do. I'm personally going to say this now. I said this year 16 was going to be Game of the Year. That's still debatable. I think for a fact Final Fantasy VII Rebirth next year will win Game of the Year, and I think will open up the doors for even more people to come play Final Fantasy VII. Because right now, a lot of the people who play it are OG players like myself and you perhaps who played the original, right? And we're just ecstatic for this news and all these updates. But I think what they're trying to do is attract a brand new younger audience. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Rebirth Twitter page and talk about what's been going on. Okay, so right away, a couple things I want to note. They have been talking a lot about chocobos. Chocobos are going to play a big part of travel in the upcoming Rebirth game. Okay, so we're not going to have Highwind for sure. We know, I think that's going to probably be the third CD, right? CD, I'm going to quote that. The third part of the game where that is going to probably stay true to the original. So we're probably going to use chocobos to do flying, mountain climbing. There's going to be Gold Saucer Chocobo racing. The one thing they haven't included in this game is chocobo breeding, which is unfortunate because I feel like chocobo breeding was one of the more fun parts of the mini games, but they have allowed us to customize chocobos with different gear, different outfits, different accessories to give them various stats, allowing you to somewhat, to some extent, have a customization option with your chocobo, right? And you can actually gain chocobos by hunting them through the grasslands and other different areas to get various different chocobos that have specific traits. Like there's a mountain climbing chocobo, there's a flying chocobo, there's an OG regular chocobo. So chocobos are going to play a huge part, just like any other Final Fantasy game, in the travel station. Now there's also mini little chocobos around. Let's see if I can find it somewhere here. There it is. Who will actually serve as chocobo stops or checkpoints. Okay, now you can find these, give them a cute little pet. They have these little stations that look like bus stations. You put up the sign, and that's going to be your checkpoint. So this is going to be a great way to do instant travel across the map, which, by the way, I was watching Maximilian's video on him playing the demo. Mind blown. He said that the 45 minutes that he spent exploring Junon region, that little harbor, was 1/20th of the map that was shown in the demo that he played. So the scale of Final Fantasy VII's world is going to be absolutely humongous. Okay, so this is what I was talking about here. You find these little chocobos around the different areas. You follow them. They lead you over to this little station. You'll actually pick up one of these signs, and that is going to be your stop, and you can instantly travel to those places, which is a requirement for a map this big while you play the game. Okay, so something to note. Now, this is what I was talking about here through needing to find chocobos. You can see here, Cloud is actually kind of like playing a little game here to try to get this chocobo to be his pet. You can see here he's going to throw a little green here, right? The usual thing that chocobos love. And here we go. All right, this is how you capture a chocobo, just so you guys are aware. And it's like riding a untamed bull. There you go. Okay, so really cool. Love that concept. I'm sure the chocobo farm, that a classical part of the game, is probably going to allow us to choose chocobos as well. I hope, at least. But just so you guys are aware. Now, another thing I want to talk about before we get into the interview, which is going to be the mini games. There's going to be a lot of new mini games, just like Gold Saucer introduces, right? And we're pretty accustomed to it. One big one they've been talking about a lot recently is called Queen's Blood. I almost call it Queen's Gambit, the game from the show from Netflix. So it's very similar to a card game that we're accustomed to. Probably Triple Triad is what you're used to, or if you play Final Fantasy 14, there's a Gold Saucer there. Triple Triad's there. There's other card games, but this is going to play a major role in minigames. So this is going to be a storyline based minigame as well, where you can advance in the story, understand the concept of the story as well, and then also collect these cards and play tournaments. Now I assume this is going to be something they're going to expand on even further in the third and fourth game when they decide to make those eventually. But I would imagine a lot of people like myself are going to spend so much time playing this damn game because I'm all about the Gold Saucer mini games. So Chocobo Racing, the boxing game, you name it, I'm going to be all over these. So when I do stream this, or when I decide to play this and make videos, Queen's Blood is going to be one of the big ones that I'll probably be focusing on as well too. Okay, so very excited for that. Now let's go ahead and go into the actual interview. Okay, so let me just quickly find it. I think the interview was this one here. This one. Okay, so this was taken on Friday the 22nd on September at 9 I don't know, 9 whatever time that is, PM. I mean, that's 9 a.m., but I don't know if it's PDT or whatever. But anyways, so this is actually with Rebirth director Hamaguchi. He talks to us about the various things that are happening in the game, including the story and combat in the world itself, and of course chocobos. Okay, so let's go through this because I think it has a lot of meat to it, and I think a lot of people will be interested in what he's answered and what he's presented. Okay, so first off, how much of the story of the original Final Fantasy VII is included in this specific game? I'll say that locations covered in this game go up to the Forgotten Capital. It's quite a bit of content, right? I mean, there's Fort Condor, there's Calm, there is, I mean, here, I kind of went through a whole list here. Someone actually did a pretty good job. Junon, Mithril Mines, Benora, Gold Saucer at Mount Coral, Casa del Sol, Merge Midel, which is interesting because the Doctor is there, and you do see him in the trailer. He's actually helping some of these degraded soldiers. Gongaga, Cosmo Canyon, where obviously you learn more about Naniki, Nibelheim, Temple of the Ancients, the Forgotten City, and then of course the Crater. That's a lot to cover in one whole game. This game is going to be humongous. So this is kind of the map here of, I believe, the original. So this is what people are assuming, and I think Confliction, shout out to you on Reddit, did a pretty good job of outlining for most of the parts that would or should be in this part of the game. Okay, so that's a lot, guys. It's a lot of content to cover in one whole game. Okay, now, but you don't need to play the previous Final Fantasy remake for this one. This is interesting. No, all three of the remake project titles have been designed as a standalone game in their own right. Oh, so it's 3 discs. Sorry, my bad, guys. Not 4. It's gonna be 3. So any of them can be enjoyed fully, even if you haven't experienced the previous one. So the reason why he's saying this is right in the bottom here. I do think it's worthwhile playing Remake before Rebirth, but it's not essential. If you don't know what happened in the previous game, there's a story so far, digest movie in the game that will get you up to speed. So it just pretty much gives you an idea of, like, it gives you a little synopsis of what happened in Remake. I highly recommend, guys, if you plan to play Rebirth, play Remake. It's worth it. Not for the story specifically, but also for the combat, the look and feel, the attachment to characters you'll have, how they've increased the likability of many of the characters because they gave them voice acting or just changed the way they act, look and feel. Looking at Barrett, for example, and just having a better idea of what Final Fantasy VII Remake and the new trilogy is going to be about. So I highly recommend you guys go give it a try. I mean, it's a 3-year-old game now. If you haven't played it, now's the time to do it before February 29th, right? So very, very cool about that. Final Fantasy VII Remake had one of my favorite combat systems of any RPG. How have you built on it for this new game? So this is a really cool thing. So the combat system is still the same, but they've added in new elements that's focusing on team-ups and with allies. So now they've got something called synergy attacks. So before, what you'd have to do is when you build up your ATB bar, right? You'll see this little yellow bar in the bottom here, or the blue bar here. You'll build it up, and while building up, you have to dodge, etc., to do moves. Now what they've done is they made it more seamless, where they've added in these synergy attacks with teammates, where you can do various different moves. So the reason why I'm on this page here is you can see right now synergy abilities for Red 13, for example. They're an exciting new way to open up combat. These special abilities let two characters combine their skills to deliver powerful attacks, and just as importantly, they look awesome. Of course, you can't just use these team up with the Wild Abandon. You have to earn them. Spending ATB charges on abilities also fills synergy charge for that character. So the more ATB you use, the more synergy charges you'll get for that character, which means when ATB is out, synergy will be available. So for example, Red 13 has Planetary Roar with Aerith, has Savage Assault with Cloud, and with Barret has Overfang, right? And each of them do a different thing. So really cool concept of making combat feel more fluid in the game, where there isn't a lot of downtime in order to build up your ATB bar. So that's a really cool thing, okay? How has the materia system evolved from the previous game? Is there any new materia to look forward to? Now, I know for a fact there is a lot of new materia to look forward to. There are many more materia types in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and these allow for exciting new combinations in battle. I think what he meant to say was Rebirth. For example, there are materia that automate some of your actions in battle, like AI combat, as well as other exciting new types. So that's really cool, because a lot of people won't be able to just sit there and play for hours. By having the AI kind of do the work for you will make it a lot easier, especially with how big the game is going to be, right? So a lot of us are parents, a lot of us have full-time jobs, a lot of us just don't have the time to sit and play a video game all day long. So this is kind of cool. Also, there's like combination materials now with different elements, right? There's like lightning and wind and ice and fire. So you can cast multiple different elements with one materia. And then not only that, but there's exclusive materia as well too that's going to be out, and other new summoning materia that's being introduced as well too. I believe if you pre-order now, you get yourself a triple Moogle materia as well too. So really cool concept of brand new materia. Materia always plays a huge part in every Final Fantasy VII game, so it's nice to see they're adding more to it, okay? The most recent trailer revealed that there are a lot of chocobo types in the game. How is this important to show? So this is huge, of course. We wanted to pay homage to the original Final Fantasy VII. There are many different types of chocobos in that game, such as the river chocobo or the mountain chocobo. As if you guys were breeders, you guys know what that's all about. One of the biggest draws of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that you can explore the vast world map, so we reimagined the different chocobos to become important features of exploration. This is what we were talking about earlier, right? You can use them to fly through the air, climb mountains, or speed across water surfaces. You can also enjoy chocobos you've collected another way by entering them into the Gold Saucer for chocobo racing. One of my favorite mini games of all time. Amazing stuff. Okay, the world looks so massive. How difficult was it to interpret the world of Final Fantasy VII for the new game? This is one of the hardest challenges we faced when developing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can only imagine. There are lots of games out there that let you explore in a limited area of specific locations, but we haven't seen all that many games that let you travel and explore a whole world. Now, it's not completely wide open. Okay, there are still going to be borders where you can't cross, but they've done such a good job by not limiting those borders that it still looks like an open world game with limitations, which is great to me. I talked about this in one of my other videos, where for me personally, if you have an open world with too much open world, I can't focus. So it's great to know that they've limited it, but also kept it open enough where it feels like the real world of Final Fantasy VII, right? If that world is too massive, then it makes it harder for the game to work. I agree, but if it's too small, then you don't get the look and feel of the massive world in the first place. Totally agree with that as well. We put a lot of thought and hard work into getting that balance right to fulfill both requirements. Look at that. The buggy. Okay. It's not just chocobos, of course, there are vehicles too. The buggy in particular has had an awesome redesign from the original game. How did you capture the look of the original vehicle while making it fresh and new? We did a lot of research in order to decide like basic structure, type of tires, and so on. We looked into the kinds of modern motor vehicles used in deserts and on poor quality roads, including military vehicles. This looks like a damn military vehicle. Next, we looked at its external appearance. Design elements such as the jet engine at the rear for acceleration and the propeller screws for traveling across water surfaces were included to hark back to somewhat of the fantastical buggy design of the original Final Fantasy VII. However, we paid special attention to designing these fictional elements in a way that made them look real and functional. I'm telling you guys, this thing looks incredible. Saw it in the gameplay trailer. If you haven't checked it out, it looks pretty damn badass, man. So really happy to see that. Also, the Tiny Bronco is probably going to function the same way, where you're probably going to be able to use it in shallow waters just like the original. I don't think they're going to let you fly it too much, so I probably expect that to be the same. The most recent trailer allowed Cloud zipping along on a two-wheeled wheelie. Can you tell us a little bit about the fun little machine? We want to have the player experience feeling of liberation, freedom, and Costa del Sol resort area, so we've given Cloud and the gang a fun, quirky little vehicle to scoot around rather than walking like usual. There's also a special promotional campaign being run in the game where you can earn souvenirs from traveling certain distances on them so I urge players to take them for a spin when you visit Costa del Sol. So really cool little mini games here and there. Oh, speaking of the Tiny Bronco, there we go. What about the Tiny Bronco? Can we expect to see that too? Of course, the Tiny Bronco will appear too. Due to the events of the story, the time that it actually flies very short, but you can still use it after the wings have been damaged to cross the ocean freely, just like the original game. So this is what I meant, right? Rebirth is trying to stay a little more close to the original content, but also expanding on what Remake did, and that is expand the world of the new Final Fantasy storyline, which is amazing that they're doing both. What new storyline elements can we expect from the game? As with Final Fantasy VII Remake, we have been careful to maintain the storyline from the original game, while at the same time adding new extra storyline content to flesh out as Remake. In addition to the main story, there has also been a huge amount of new side content added, as you can expect to see new stories told through that as well. So how does the new content affect the structure of the game? Unlike the previous title, which had new content made available to the players following development in the story, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been designed to allow the player to freely select what order to play much of its content in. So that's crazy, okay. Accordingly, it has been structured so that none of the side content becomes cut off and you never lose the opportunity to go back and play it. Regardless of how far you've progressed in the story, that means you can always take a detour and explore the expansive and vibrant world whenever the mood takes you. So that's amazing, because I know a lot of games where, like, if you finish a certain part of the story, you can't go back, which I always hated. And I think that's why I'm so, like, hesitant to ever not do side quests before I do main story. I think they've kind of, like, as old school gamers, kind of scarred us with that, right? So very cool to see that they're allowing us to go back at any time, all right? Among that new content is minigames. Many people remember the Final Fantasy VII, original Final Fantasy VII, for having lots of minigames. For that reason, we felt it was important to come across a lot of minigames while exploring the world. And there's the boxing one that I was talking to you guys about from Gold Saucer, right? So super excited to see that. What's your personal favorite new minigame? Out of all the different minigames available, the card game Queen's Blood, we talked about this a little bit, could be said to be one of the headliners. It's an in-world card game that is very popular in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and a minigame that can be played many times from start of the adventure to the end. Winning matches doesn't let you enhance your deck. It doesn't just let you enhance your deck. You can also follow a unique Queen's Blood story as well. The narrative progresses as you engage more battles and challenges and matches. So really, really cool. Very excited to play. I love the card games that Final Fantasy always introduces, so very excited for that. Okay, can we expect to see new elements in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that are taken from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII? I cannot reveal full details, but yes, there are many characters and details added to Rebirth that weren't featured in the original Final Fantasy VII, but were seen in the compilation. So that's good to know. More characters to talk about and discuss. All right, Final Fantasy VII Remake had a fantastic musical score that combined iconic themes with entirely new pieces. What can we expect from Rebirth soundtrack? Just like for the remake, we have created a huge number of arrangements of original music, as well as new tracks that go alongside all the changing situations in the story. You can expect great things from the music this time around as well. Finally, what are you excited for, fans, to experience of Final Fantasy Rebirth? This game has many tens of hours of side content spread around the world. I'm so screwed. Outside of the main story, it's fine to ignore the main story if you want to, or go off and explore the world map to experience the side content whenever you like at a suitable juncture in the narrative. Where to go and what to start from is entirely down to the player. I can't wait for them to see them enjoy the freedom, the choices the game gives them. So, pretty damn insane, guys. Like, this game is going to, I think, break records for sales for Final Fantasy franchises. I think it's going to go down as probably the biggest project Final Fantasy has ever put together. And I think it's going to put a brand new spin on the Final Fantasy VII world and genre. I'm very excited to see what they do with Zack and Cloud coming back to Midgar. Very excited to see what they do with these degraded soldiers and Sephiroth, of course, and you know, the advancement of the storyline and how they change from the original. All this stuff is going to be here, guys, with a massive world. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, easily to me, is going to be Game of the Year. I'm very excited for it. Hope this interview was exciting, or was good enough to get you guys excited as well too. More Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff coming in the future. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.